So to do this 50mm tray lift, you'll need a 1/2" drive ratchet, and then I just got a 19, an 18 and a 10mm socket. So we've got a 19mm open end spanner, you don't need the ratchet one, 18mm open end spanner and 10mm, and I've got a flat head screwdriver here. That's just for prying off those wiring harness clips. And if you want, I've also just got a pair of cutters and some zip ties to clean up that wiring underneath, but that's up to you if you want to do that or not. These are the VMN supplied 50mm lift blocks for the tray. There's 50mm extended bolts with the washers and nylock nut. So underneath the tray here, there's just 3 mounts on each side. There's one there, and there's one up the front, just there. So those are the only 3, you've got them on both sides. The only other thing you'd probably have to worry about, if it's like mine, is these wires running up to the tail lights, run along the chassis and then move up to the tray. Since you're going to be separating the tray from the chassis, you probably want to undo them and either extend them or just rerun them somewhere where you can get an extra 50mm out of them. Mine kind of just run along the chassis there and go all the way across to the other side. I should probably have enough play in them to not have to extend them and just lift them up out of the way. So to start off with, I'm just going to do one side at a time. I'll loosen off both sides but only actually take off one side. So I'll just start with this one right here, and then we'll do that one and that one up front. So I'm just going to grab my ratchet, chuck it on there. Same on the next 2. Second one's out, last one out. So I'm just going to come around here and loosen the other side off as well, but I'm not going to take it completely out. Another thing to consider would be if you have remote reservoirs, make sure you've got enough length in those lines to go up the 50mm, and you just want to double check how your fuel filler is mounted. It should be alright to lift up, but I'll just undo it anyway. It's just one 10mm, and that fuel filler is just unbolted and sitting there. Luckily for me, I have one of these. If you don't have a crane, just use a high lift jack or get a couple of mates. They're not that heavy, you can lift them up by hand if you have to. I'm going to pull these wires off. They're just held in by a few of these clips here, and there's one that I just got out. You can see what it looks like. Pulled the first 3 out, that one there, and that next one back in there, and that gives me plenty of slack to be easily able to lift that up now. I'll do the same on the other side. Right, so that's the other side. Got that off as well. A fair bit of room to move there. So I've got that crane just lifting up on the side here, and I've just pulled up just enough here so I can get the 50mm blocks in each of those tray mounts. So I'm just going to slot that straight in. You can see the chassis actually has quite a large hole, so I'm going to be using the smaller one for the top there, and I'm going to put that bigger one on the bottom there. Okay, so I'm just going to thread it in there just so it's just sitting there, and we'll leave tightening it all up till right at the very end. My crane ready to lift on the other side. Should be right. I'll washer on top again and drop it straight in through there, and we'll just chuck the nut on the bottom. And again, don't tighten it all the way up, just leave it just sitting there until I drop the tray back down, and then I can make sure it's all square and in line with the cab and everything, and then we'll tighten it all up right at the end. I've just moved into the shade here, it's getting a bit hot out there. But there you go, that's it. I've tightened all these bolts up now. Just on this fuel filler, it did have plenty of flex to move up and down with the tray, but it actually moved back in about 1 inch. So I'm just going to drill another hole right there and put the bolt back through, and that should be fine to still just fill from there. Just kind of try and line it up by the tyres there, and then using the cab as well. So I think I've got it pretty well centered.